Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Misfits Racing League highlights video. This time is the Oceanic race around the Circuit of the Americas. Since there is unfortunately no commentated race replay, I will be walking you through each driver's race and giving you a rundown of what happened in this race. What you are seeing behind you is the pole lap from this all-dry fair, so after that I'll run you through the race. Alex Bitto filled in for Impulse this race. After starting a respectable 6th on the grid, the young Spaniard fitted the hards at the VSC stop and made the undercut on Mclaren, but the hards were not fast enough to stay with the Red Bull driver. He finished the race with a solid 4th place, bringing home some much needed points for the Brackley squad. Pepsi and the other Mercedes struggled in this one. Receiving drive-throughs under both virtual safety cars, he was the only one to be lapped in this one, finishing at the back of the grid after points looked promising before the 2 drive-throughs. A strong outing for the boys in red, picking up yet another double points finish with both cars in the top 6. Quite a quiet race from Stars in this one. He had a tangle with Domi on lap 1 at turn 19, but aside from that he was able to keep his head down and bring home some good points in 5th place for the Italian squad. Trin on the other hand had a much more eventful race. After starting from P13 on this grid and a poor opening few laps, he was able to demonstrate his resilience, determination and consistency, clawing his way back through the field with some excellent overtakes. He finished P6 in the end, right behind his teammate. Domi filled in for Panda in this one. A strong qualifying performance for both Red Bulls in this race, securing the second row with Mclaren leading of the 2. It was an unfortunate race for Domi in his reserve role. After a slight tap with the Mercedes of Alex Bitto and dropping down to 6th, it all seemed to unravel for the Hungarian with a spin at turn 9 on lap 11 and retiring later that lap at the exit of turn 12. Mclaren was another driver with quite a quiet race. He made an interesting call to not pit under the first virtual safety car when his rivals did, and as a result came out of the pits behind the Mercedes of Alex Bitto. But in the end he was able to get past and capitalise on penalties at the end of the race for another P2 finish for the Milton Keynes squad. Quite a mixed outing for the French squad in this race. After a mediocre start, Ruben got involved in an incident with Gorzieg in the Haas at turn 15 on lap 3. Putting him out of contention and leading to an early retirement in the pit lane. His teammate combined had a very action-packed race. After falling to the back of the grid at the second virtual safety car, he was able to claw his way back through the field with some great moves to get that Renault car back into the points. He finished 8th in this one, continuing his consistency from the previous few rounds. Both McLarens experienced a quiet race as a whole, picking up a few points along the way. Peter had a quiet but solid race. After starting in 8th position, he had an early pit stop onto the hards at the end of lap 8, and the virtual safety cars definitely hampered his strategy to get that undercut on the nearest competitors. However, despite this he was able to hold some at bay, finishing 7th on track, but a large amount of penalties due to track limits demoted the Mclaren driver down to 9th position at the end of the race. Yukio mimicked his teammate in a way, pitting onto the hards during the first virtual safety car. After running in a solid 10th place at one point after Domi's spin, A drive-through penalty sealed the fate of this Singaporean driver. He finished in 12th in this one, with no points on the board for the Mclaren. Scars filled in for Zeno this week. A reserve driver able to make up some ground during the race, making his way from 12th to 10th in the opening few laps. However, an unfortunate tap with the Williams of BTFU sent the car around at turn 12 on the third lap of the race. Another spin at turn 18 the same lap gave the South African a lot of work to do to recover. After some stellar overtakes and the lack of track limit penalties, he was able to secure a single point for the Pink Panthers, finishing in 10th position. His teammate Ben the Bear continues to show his class after picking up pole position by a staggering 0.4 of a second to his nearest competitor. However, a mediocre start off the line allowed Freeway in the AlphaTauri to swoop by and take the lead into turn 1. But the tyre wasn't phased. After some management and calculated planning, he was able to regain the lead on lap 3 and held onto it for the rest of the race to take yet another victory for his campaign. It was only the reserve driver of Freeway representing the AlphaTauri squad in this race. And what an outing it was for the German. Starting on the front row of the grid alongside Ben, he was able to snatch the lead into turn 1 and led the way for the opening few laps. After being passed by Ben a few laps later, it seemed that Freeway had the pace to really pull away from the drivers behind. However, a last lap puncture as well as an accumulation of penalties ultimately robbed the German of a second place finish, and he had to settle for P3 in what was a bittersweet result for the team. Nigel filled in for Revo this race. After deciding to go onto a two-stop strategy early in the race, the young Brit was able to demonstrate his pace, setting the fastest lap of the race. However, he was unable to score points, finishing in a dreaded P11 after it looked so promising from a 4th row start in 7th. Moz and the other Alfa Romeo had a solid outing as well, especially after a suboptimal qualifying result, able to drag his car up to 8th place at one point during the race after a long first stint on the softs. However, a spin and wing damage at the end of sector 1 on lap 18 put the Alfa driver on the back foot, and he ended up finishing outside the top 10 with a 13th place. A tough week for the Alfa Romeo squad. A very difficult event for the American squad this race, with both drivers unable to finish it. Gauzier got tangled in the incident with Ruben on the third lap of the race, forcing the early pit stop onto the hards and a front wing change. But his bad luck wouldn't end here, with a spin and crash at the end of the 8th lap, bringing a swift end to the Canadians' campaign and bringing out the first of the 2 virtual safety cars. Big Al's race wasn't much better. An incident in the first 2 laps of the race forced the early pit stop onto mediums and sent the pass to the back of the pack with little to do. After making some great progress back into 10th, a mistake on lap 12 signalled the end of the Haas's in this event. BTFU filled in for Simdog at this race. The American showing his skills around his home track after getting the free try choice in 11th place on the grid. The alternate strategy and staying out of trouble proved to be the secret weapon in his race, able to finish in a respectable P7 after some hard-fought battles with combined YouTuber and Trin. T-Mac on the other hand was not as fortunate. After starting a disappointing 16th on the grid, the Williams driver got off to an amazing start, pushing all the way to 11th place by the end of the 3rd lap. After looking like there was a strong chance of points after the pit stops, a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car ultimately sealed T-Mac's fate. The gap was just too much to close after that, and he retired in the pit lane at the end of lap 15. So that was round 9 of the MRL Oceanic Division around the Circuit of the Americas. If you like this style of video, be sure to let us know by hitting that like button and leaving a comment below. We'll see you later today with some great racing around Mexico. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your day.